All right, B. So I want to ask you about how does somebody find what they actually want in life? Like as far as success, everyone says they want success, but it means different things for different people. So, Dan Fleischman travels a lot. He goes all over the place and he has a huge network and that's valuable to him. Someone like a Wes Watson has all the cars and the house, and that's something that represents success to him. Some people might have a family, that's success for them. How did you find out what you wanted as far as success goes?
So I've always been very introspective, which means like I always check in with myself. Like, okay, I see that person has multiple houses and they're bi-coastal, which means they live on the East Coast and the West Coast and blah, blah, blah. Do I want that? No, I'm a creature of habit. I like being in like a 3 or 4 mile bubble. When I have my business, I want my business, the gym I work out in, the coffee shop I have my coffee from, and the sushi restaurant that I eat at in a 3-4 mile bubble. And I literally built that here in Chino Hills, right? In a 3 mile bubble, I had the Starbucks that I go to, the gym that I worked out at before starting up BK Strength. My house is 2 miles away. My headquarters is right here. And then Sushi 10 was right down the street. And it was all in a 3 mile bubble. Like I wanted a certain lifestyle. I wanted freedom. And so I would look at certain people and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be bi-coastal. I don't want to have 2 sets of clothes. I don't want to have to travel a lot on a plane. In fact, several years ago, me and the family were in Hawaii and Ed Milet calls me. My brother Ed. I love Ed Milet, right? He calls me. I'm like, yo, what up, Ed? He goes, I said, yo, Ed, just letting you know I'm with the family. We're in Hawaii and you're on speakerphone, right? And so he goes, well, I'll make this quick and easy. I'm selling my airplane. I'm going to buy a different airplane, a bigger airplane. And I thought you might be interested in buying my plane. And so I wanted to reach out to you first before I put it up for sale. And I was like, Ed, I really appreciate it. But as you know, I've got kids who are young. I don't want to travel much, which is why I raised my speaking fee to $50,000. And so I want to travel less and not more. So I spent $3.5 million building out my own gym. This was when I just had built out BK Strength, right? I spent $3.5 million building out my own private gym that had a garage in the back for my cars, and then a gym where my kids who were minors could work out in, because the big box gyms don't allow, if you're 16 and under, they don't allow you to work out, which is stupid because both of my kids who were like, at the time they were like 10 and 8 years old, had better gym etiquette than most adults, like in a big box gym, like in terms of they know how to clean up their sweat, they know like how to work out properly, re-rack their weights and all that shit, where these knuckleheads in big box gyms don't. Nevertheless, the big box gyms wouldn't let people, young kids work out at their gym. So I was like, fuck it, I'll open up my own private gym, right? Because I had the building anyway, which is that building I had for a couple of years as empty building. And so I'm like, I'm gonna build my own gym. And Ed goes, you know what I love about you? He goes, you know exactly what you want from life. He goes, you spend about the cost of that airplane to build out your own private gym instead of buying a private jet. He goes, enjoy your vacation. Boom, hung up, right? And that was one of the greatest compliments that I'd ever gotten. He goes, you know what you want in life. And so to me, a private jet wasn't as valuable as a private gym where me and my family, my kids, can go work out at. And so I built what I defined as success. So access where me and my family can train, a place that we can live that's safe and have lots of property, so much money and freedom that no one is going to tell us what to do, which is sovereignty. But the cars that I like, that I get to park in the back of my gym and look through the glass doors and see my favorite cars, that's what success looks like to me. To someone else, success might look like, building wells all over the world, right? And success also looks like to me, Shriners Children's Hospital. We donate 7 figures every year to Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, and Compassion International. Like, I love donating to those 3 kid-based charities. That's part of success to me. Philanthropy, giving back. Someone else might be like, I don't give a shit about giving back. And cool, you don't have to. You don't have to. But the problem is when we look at someone and we go, I think I want that lifestyle. And they don't do the introspection to check in with themselves and go, do I really want that lifestyle? Like, is that how I want to live? And if the answer is yes, fuck, bro. Hire them, learn from them, model their success. But if the answer is no, that's not the lifestyle you want, because success could look like financial freedom. Success could look like being cash poor but asset rich, like having a lot of buildings and businesses and things that are making you money, but always being cash poor. Like my mentor, Jim Franco, taught me, like, hey, in your 30s and 40s, be cash poor, asset rich. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And that's how I amassed all of my wealth, because if I had cash in the bank, one, it just evaporates. Number two, you're going to end up using it to buy something stupid. So I might as well buy properties and buildings and businesses that are going to be generating cash flow, so like I knew sovereignty and freedom was my thing. But when people don't define what success is to them, they go, well, on Instagram or YouTube, that looks like it's a cool life, and so I want to model that. Then they start running down that path trying to model that life, and ultimately realize when they get there, if they get there, that's not really the definition of success.
Is it you change, you could change from month to month, really. Like how often do you think someone should?
Always. Introspection is an always thing. Like, in fact, like, if I feel a certain way, like if I feel like, man, I'm a little stressed, I'm a little on edge today, you should just check in with yourself and be like, why am I feeling stressed and on edge today? Oh yeah, I got that bad news. Okay, that's why. So I better be careful with my words with my staff, because I don't want to take it out on my staff because I had a stressful day or a message delivered to me that, put me on edge. And so being introspective is a self-development thing. And so if you're constantly checking in with yourself and going, like a lot of people during the pandemic in 2020 realized, you know what, success actually looks like not being under the thumb of the government, right? So they were like, you know what, my wife has a job. I have a job, like, regular wage workers, they have a 9-to-5 job, but they're like, we're going to cut corners. We're going to cancel Netflix. We're going to not eat out so that we can take our kids out of public school and put them in private school, because that's what success looks like to them. Mm-hmm. They want their kids not to be injected with an experimental vaccine. Right. So you're constantly need to be checking in with yourself with what success looks like, with what happiness looks like, with what your partnership looks like. Because if you're in a partnership, in a marriage with someone, and you're doing self-development and they're not, well, as you check in frequently, you realize, hey man, we're growing apart. Have this conversation. Can you start doing self-development too, so we can grow together instead of grow apart? Right. Otherwise, they end up growing apart, and then they end up arguing and divorcing, and no one realized that one was stagnant and the other one was growing, and that gap between them is what created the wedge and the divorce. Right. So introspection, checking in with self regularly, is massively important, because times, the economy, age, wisdom, personal growth, or just something that happens in your family could all of a sudden, like my mom died of Alzheimer's. And when she got dementia 7-8 years ago, I realized, to me, success looks like giving my mom and dad the freedom to be able to live in their house and having a Armenian caretaker, and they're taking care of them. Right. And so someone might be like, well, that doesn't resonate with me because my parents are fine. Cool. Then you don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. And so just like when you're introspective, you can look inside instead of looking externally and going, ooh, Leighton drives this kind of car and he makes this kind of videos and he talks like that, and I think that's what's like, I like that, and so that's what success looks like. And you start kind of contorting your identity to look more like Leighton and act like Leighton, but you're like, that's not me. I feel like I'm almost being a character, a false identity, right?
Exactly, yeah. It all makes sense, and you got to be introspective and look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, what is it that I really want? I don't want to follow exactly this person's, their profile or their whatever their model of success is. But there's a lot of people that are running from looking in the mirror, and they want to do everything but do that. Right. And have you ever had those moments?
I've had that. When I was younger, I had that, because it's easier to bury your head and ignore the inner voice consciousness, right? And your conscience. But as you get older, you get wiser, you go, you know what? As much as I don't want to listen to this voice, it's telling me that something's not right here. I'm going to address it instead of hiding from it. And it could be in your relationship. It could be your business partnership. It could be just your own health, right? And that's why people look in the mirror, they go, oh, I only have a few pounds to lose. And then they have a heart attack, and the doctor's like, bro, you have 60 pounds to lose. But they kept lying to themselves and going, I only have a few pounds to lose. I've got an average body. No, you don't. You look average because you're a fat fuck like everyone else, but there's nothing average about them otherwise. And so the important thing is to look at the signs, because when you are ignoring, avoiding introspection, when you are escaping from it because you don't want to face it, you don't want to have that tough conversation because it might lead to a divorce, it might lead to a breaking up of a business partnership, it might lead to you having to put the ding dongs down and actually start working out and eating right. you're going to feel something when you're incongruent. When you know you should do something and you're not doing it, you feel something, a little sense of agitation, irritation, some level of anxiety, some level of depression, some level of overwhelm. Those feelings that you get on a regular basis, those are all little knocks on a door from your conscience telling you that, hey, you are not paying attention to the signals that you should be paying attention to introspectively, that something's wrong in some area of your life.
Right.
And that's why God, our creator, our higher self, gives us those feelings of agitation, irritation, depression, anxiety, so that we can start paying attention to self, introspection. And so if you are at least smart enough to go, all right, I'm always going to pay attention to any of these signals, so that when you find yourself avoiding something, you go, uh-oh, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling a little depressed, I'm feeling a little agitation. Maybe there's something that I should be listening to and I'm not. You go, oh, that's right. I got to address this business partnership that's falling apart that I'm avoiding having this conversation about. So yeah, that's happened to me. And I've created a rule for myself where I'm always going to tune in to what I'm feeling. And if what I'm feeling is any level of agitation, irritation, anxiety, depression, I'm like, unless it's a clinical thing that just came on to me, right? Like I've got some clinical depression, which most people don't, believe it or not, even though the doctors in the world want to tell you you do. That's just your conscience telling you that you're not living a congruent life. Look internally and then course correct. And if you do that, you start developing that muscle of constantly being introspective and therefore staying on the true path of life.